All Across Perspectives is using our perspective of concepts, ideas, and latest news events that are reshaping the world that you live in to educate and inform so that the average person can prosper in this ever-changing world.
You can't handle the truth.
Breaking news.
No, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made fair use for the purposes such as news reporting, criticism, informative, educational, and more. No copyright infringement intended. This video falls under fair use guidelines. Any attempt to claim and falsely the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, better known as DMCA, is illegal and will be countered. Hello, this is All Across Perspectives Worthy Financial News Report for the week of January 25th, 2026, and I'm your host, Everett Day. These are the exciting events we will cover today. We have heard about the World Economic Forum, United Nations, and now we have the Board of Peace. What is it? Who is leading it? And what countries are involved to make this a reality? This question and many more will be answered on this week's edition of Holocaust Perspectives World Financial News Report. And as always, we start the call with some recorded, informative videos to share, while others join the live call. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure as always to come together, share concepts, ideas, and latest news events to get a full understanding of what the hell is going on in our world today. There's a lot of stuff for you guys. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. I'm just gonna roll through this. You guys, any questions on anything that you might have seen or heard? There's been a lot of movement over this last week. We're gonna get into it, but is there anything that you guys might have seen that you might have questions on while I load? Are we good? How's everybody doing?
Just confused.
About what?
That last piece you just shared with Trump saying he will do what with crypto? I didn't.
That was his pledge when he was running for office the last time. He was on stage and he said that he was going to not let the powers that be get hold to people's Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is the war that's going on. I told you before, it's the banking system. The Rothschild banking system is being torn down. Trump has a huge grudge against them because they kicked him out. Okay. So I don't know if you guys know it or not, there's a $5 billion lawsuit against JP Morgan and Chase right now because they literally kicked him out of the banking system. They made him take all his money out of the bank. They refused to give him any loans, all that kind of stuff. So he's coming back and he's going to sue them, okay, for what they did to him. But he's also in the process of tearing them down. So that's one reason why he's pushing for crypto. But then also keep in mind, World Liberty Financial is already applying to be a charter bank, a trust. It's just all these different things that are coming in. So it's going to be interesting to see all this stuff play out. But that is the war. That is the war. It always comes down to money. It has nothing to do with the people. It has everything to do with money. Who got the biggest pockets and who can gain the most when it's all said and done. It has nothing to do with us. We just happen to be caught in the fray. I'm being real. Okay, so we're going to go into some stuff this evening. I hope I answered your question, Miss Evelyn. We're going to go into the next couple of things we're going to talk about is the Board of Peace. Okay, so pay attention to this stuff, guys, because if you got questions or you got comments, let's talk this stuff out because we've heard about the United Nations. We heard about the World Economic Forum. We heard about the ICC, the International Crimes Court. You sure I'm going all this stuff? A lot of this stuff is being dismantled, guys. Pay attention.
creating a new style of governance the world has never seen. Donald Trump unveiled his Board of Peace. At the same time, Jared Kushner unveiled a new Gaza plan for rebuilding the Gaza Strip. Rather than the people governing themselves through the ballot box, like with a democracy, or even rather than a monarchy or a dictator, this is a new style of governance that is being rolled out, where essentially investors are going to build up territories, build up countries, build up nations, and they will control them. It would be run by, rather than presidents and prime ministers, sovereign CEOs. This is much more sinister, and let me explain. It starts off with Kushner's new Gaza plan. I think they've chosen Gaza because they knew they could bomb the heck out of it to raise the entire place so that they could clear all the rubble, build something brand new, and try out this new style of world domination. And we know this because the Board of Peace is not, even though it was supposed to be created for Gaza, it's not in their charter. Gaza's not mentioned. It's for any and all territories that they can essentially get their hands on to do this exact same project. Gaza is just the prototype. Now let's first listen to Jared Kushner talking about the new Gaza plan.
We want to encourage all the countries to be able to follow these best practices. What the Board of Peace will have the ability to do if we're successful with Gaza is really show how do you do peace implementation. As we're creating this system, we can just document these learnings and make them available to all else who want to use them in the future.
Very specifically, Jared Kushner is talking about investors redesigning a strip of land whose people still do not control their borders, their politics, or their security. They will not be in charge.
There'll be amazing investment opportunities.
The charter for the Board of Peace actually gives Trump ultimate decision-making power with the ability to act on the board's behalf without needing full board consent, essentially making him a king of a territory. That is essentially what this is. And the thing about the Board of Peace is that it's not limited to Gaza. When they started Board of Peace, they said, oh, this is for the rebuilding of Gaza. But then they wrote the charter and they unveiled the charter, and it turned out, wait a minute, this isn't limited to Gaza. This is for any and all areas of the world that you believe there's a conflict, and you're going to go in there with investor money and rebuild these areas, and the investors will actually be in charge. The governance will be by the investors who have a board, a chairman of the board who's ultimately the overseer of this, not the people. They want that for all of us. This is a way for the investors to start ruling the world.
Okay, so I put that in because I want you guys to understand there's been many movies that we've seen that I remember seeing that were futuristic, and it will be like a person controls or owns that city and everybody's living in it. I never understood how that would be possible until now. Mr. Roddy, I see your hand is up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, thanks, my good brother. Yeah, this is detailed out in the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. He talked about that in great detail about how America goes in and participates in wars or, does the warring. And then what they'll do is then they'll send in their consultants to go in and negotiate and have American corporations to come in and do all of the rebuilding and all the re-infrastructure. And so it's another way of economically assassinating the country and then going back in and economically taking it over. And so I know I probably said this a couple of times, but it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and it's very detailed out. So what they're doing in Gaza right now is what John Perkins spelled out in his book. And it's two of them. The first one he's wrote, but the second one is called The Confessions of a New Economic Hitman, which is just fascinating and just riveting. So yeah, this is typical what goes on.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing. And yes, you are correct. And I believe we talked about this book and you shared it with me, and I do own it and I read it. And it's very striking of the information that's in there, just how we go in and we bankrupt another country and make them take on our currency and bankrupt them again. And it's just interesting to see how all this stuff plays out, guys. It's just, but these are the things that are happening. So you got the Billionaires Boys Club that's happening. All right, so since we're still talking about the Board of Peace, okay, so you got President Putin says Russia is ready to contribute $1 billion to President Trump's Board of Peace.
I think that we could contribute $1 billion to the Board of Peace from the frozen assets assets frozen by the previous administration, and the remaining funds from the funds frozen in the United States could be used to rebuild territories that suffered during hostilities once we sign a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay, everybody
I
see?
think-
So he's going to give up the money that supposedly the United States and Europe took from him. He said to seize funds. So why don't you just use that? Okay, you got $1 billion of my dollars. Why don't you just use that? Okay, everybody see where I'm going? This is interesting to see where this is going. All right, so President Trump says he is fine with President Putin using the $1 billion in frozen Russian assets to join a border peace. Okay. You can't make this stuff up, guys. Look at the photo. This is the border peace. So you got Trump, Putin, Kim Jong-un, and President Xi. I told you these three right here. So China, Russia, and the United States. They're going to be the three main powers. And then you got Africa that has its own the continent. So here the Vatican says the Pope has been invited to the President Trump's border peace. Miss Grace, yes, ma'am.
I'm not understanding how all these world leaders have no faith in Trump, but you're going to give him $1 billion to work with without your consent, giving him consent to do what he wants. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
It's called life is a game.
Life is a
It
game.
looks like they're trying to buy their way out of getting, because they all have conflict, and they're supposed to be for. You're supposed to be able to take people's territory, you have conflict, going and help. Don't all of them have conflict? So it looks like they're kind of buying their way out of it to a certain degree.
Wow.
Well, no, actually, you know what? And I'm just speculating, but for me, you know, from what I'm gathering from everything that I put together, like I said, it's a war that's taking place of the banking system. So
a lot of people don't realize that the presidential election that just occurred and the inauguration process is a lot bigger than we can even imagine. And let me break that down. So back in 1871, our country, America, was sold by our president, Ulysses S. Grant, to basically the royal family. We became owned. We lost all sovereignty, all freedoms, all constitutional rights. We became what is called the USA Incorporated business entity. Now, what does that have to do with anything today? So many of you just watched the inauguration and things that took place, and a lot of things stood out. And the biggest one was realizing that Trump actually has never left, quote unquote, office. You see, there's two presidents. There's two types of worlds that we're living in. One that is fake, one that is built unconstitutionally, one that is based on certain laws, one that is based on corruption and manipulation, and based pretty much in a foreign occupation territory known as Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. also works in coordinates with the Vatican and also the royal family, and then you tie in all other places where the deep state operates to control and depopulate the world. Sounds aggressive, right? On the other timeline, there is a constitutional republic. And this is why you've seen Trump wear these hats that said 45-47. He never left. It looks like he did. It looks like he had to resign or step away for Biden to come in. But the whole Biden administration was just to wake the world up to how corrupt these people are. You have to zoom out. This whole process, the last 8 years you've been seeing, more than that, has literally been a global military operation. How, what, and why? To wake up the public, to restore back our Constitution, to transfer power from a centralized, corrupt, globalist, New World Order, deep state government back into the hands of the people. And so what you have just witnessed and what you are going to continue to see from what's happening at the border, what's happening in our economy, what's happening in pharmaceuticals, what's happening in banking, what's happening in DC and politics, which is now no longer and is a bankrupt corporation, we are becoming sovereign and free. As a country, we're turning power back to the people. This is the most amazing time to be alive. The best is truly yet to come. And when Trump says the golden age, that is beyond what most of us can even comprehend. To get to these places, though, we have to wake up. We have to zoom out and connect the dots and realize this whole time we've been lied to, living under this corporation where we are the employees and the government has been our boss, when in reality, these roles should have been flipped since day one. I pray that you stay peace. I pray that you stay grounded. I pray that you share this and really start to look into things of how this corporation has been dissolved, how the power is going to be returning back to the people. And when you start to connect these dots, when you zoom out, you'll realize that nothing can truly stop what is coming, and the best is truly yet to come. God bless you.
So Russia has literally ran all. He said he's run out all the Rothschild banking system out of his country altogether. They were never in North Korea. Everybody see where I'm going. China just turned around and they flipped over. Now they're running on the digital yuan. So they're not in the banking system. Everybody see where I'm going. So the whole thing is they're getting out of the Rothschild's banking system and creating digital or decentralized finance entities. So that's the war. So once they finally are able to rid themselves of the level of usury that we're running under globally, okay, then they don't need to be at war. Everybody see where I'm going? That's what's taking place. Okay.
How does that benefit them to join? It got to be a benefit that they see to join.
Yeah, free enterprise. Yeah, free enterprise. Because for us alone, think about it this way. Once they get rid of the corporation United States here in the United States of America, the USA, the corporation, we won't be paying taxes anymore because that money, because you were listed as an employee. Okay, your birth certificate, all that. And then what they do is they turn around and you have to pay taxes. So it's a system of slavery and usury that's been put upon you since birth. They're tearing all that. I'm just only speaking for the United States. So once they tear down a corporation, there's no need for taxes because he's going to the External Revenue Service and he's doing tariffs. I'm going all the way back to tariffs. But where I'm going with this, it opens up the door for free enterprise. But that's why you got all these billionaires saying, hey, yeah, I want to be involved so I can get my hands in this as well. I'll put my money in so I get my take. Everybody see where I'm going? It's a shell game that's taking place. They got to play both sides right now. They can't tell you everything that they're doing up front because there's entities. And you got to remember, 2 presidents have gotten assassinated.
And that Saddam Hussein rejected the Rothschild banking cabal. He rejected the central bankers.
That's what that was all about?
Yeah, he wanted his own system of monetary exchange outside of the central banks. Well, we can't have that shit.
Right.
Guess who else did that? JFK.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Guess who else did that? Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Guess who's doing that now? Vladimir Putin. Gotta have regime change. Because we can't have this rejection of the central banks, because that's what's required for the ushering in of the one world governance, the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, whatever you want to call it,
right?
The New World Order, the Hold the Pale Horse. You know, that is every single military intervention that we have been in has been funded by the Rothschilds. So,
banking system.
Yeah. So just think about that. The bankers tell us when to open our borders. The bankers tell us when transgenderism should be accepted. The bankers tell us when we're facing systemic racism and when to riot. We don't do anything with or without the permission of the bankers.
And the third one, I think was it William McKinley? I think he beat the person with a cane. McKinley or Hamilton, I can't remember. But Lincoln, and because he created the greenbacks, and then you also had Kennedy because he created the silverbacks. They were
aside from 1963, President John F. Kennedy. Up here, oh wait, it doesn't say Federal Reserve note. It says United States note. That means the U.S. government, which every government has the ability to do. Canada used to do it. Germany did it. A whole bunch of other places did it. And guess what? They got really good results. You know what they did? They managed to go ahead and keep any debt at a very reasonable and payable level. Now, this United States note, that's not at interest. It's not a private bank. And JFK was dead within 6 months of issuing this $5 note. We could solve the problems that we face right now. I have said over and over, like a broken record, the head of the snake is the financial system. The reason why they hate People like Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, John F. Kennedy, and the last one, a man named Adolf Hitler. He outlawed usury. Jesus didn't like usury either. Now, the history tells us that we shouldn't entertain anything possibly good about this man. But I'll tell you what I know I like and I respect. He ended the usury that now translates to, I don't know what it is here in the Netherlands. In the UK, I think it's like 6-7 trillion pounds. In America, we've just hit 34 trillion. First off, even if we ventured to pay back the debt, there isn't enough money in circulation to even pay it back. So who are we in debt to? They want to say it's China. They want to say it's this. They want to say everyone but the Federal Reserve Bank. And who owns that? It's a private bank. Am I anti-Semitic for pointing out that the Rothschilds controlled Federal Reserve Bank has indebted not only America, the Bank of England? Who owns that? The Rothschilds have owned that since the 1700s.
They were trying to get out of the banking system, but now you got major entities that have all come together and say, we have a way to get out. That also might explain why Trump was able to take that world tour and everybody was giving him accolades.
The exchequer of all of the earth-wide Federal Reserve banking systems in each country would be handed over to one Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump is not, Mark, just the executor, the exchequer of the U.S. Treasury and therefore the Fed within the United States. He is the exchequer for Earth. He is the exchequer for the treasuries for every single country on Earth. That's what I told you earlier. No human being in history has ever been more powerful, owned more things, or richer than Donald Trump.
And we are working on that as we speak. We have conversations with various representatives of China. I believe that will all work out very well for everybody. China, Japan, the United States, and everybody in the region. As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field. Because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things. And we will be on that field, and we will all be working very hard to do great for our country. But it has to be fair, and we will make it fair.
Since the establishment of the Rothschild banking empire that runs the world today, many have tried, many countries, many presidents, many leaders, many individuals, many corporations have tried to topple and escape the Rothschild banking empire slavery system, because that's what it is. The problem we face is that most of us suffer from cognitive dissonance, and that cognitive dissonance prevents us from believing or digesting information that we get about the origins of money, how it's made, how it's controlled, who creates it, and how it runs the world. And the Rothschild banking empire, how they've woven the spell into the education system. It's just such a beautiful and easy thing to realize why they could succeed. JFK started to print the United States notes. He did pretty much very much the same to what Donald Trump did, except he didn't have the support. He was all alone. Can you imagine how JFK must have felt when he started to print the United States notes? He couldn't talk to the media. He couldn't get his message out to the people because the media is controlled by the people that run the Fed. He's just stolen the Fed from the banking families that own the media.
That's another reason why he's probably saying, I stopped 8 wars and I should be getting a peace prize and I should be getting all this, because he's leading the charge. I'm not advocating for him. I'm speaking what I'm understanding. Everybody see where I'm going, because I'm not comfortable with the process that the steps that he's taken in order to make this happen. You know, we've already seen here in Minnesota, we've had within a week and a half, we've had 2 people get killed. here in Minnesota. I ain't even gotten to that part yet. Okay, there's some stuff that's going on here. I'm gonna get into it, but I want you guys to understand this is what's taking place. Okay, it's not all about crypto. It's not all about crypto. Is giving us the charge and the power to be able to dismantle, to give us back our freedoms. Okay, how wonderful would it be that you can go every day and you don't have to worry about putting things together so you can get your taxes compiled at the end of the year? I mean, that right there takes a load off of you. The average individual has to keep, like for me, I got to keep receipts and I got to do that. And I'm just like, I'm tired of this. If I got to pay my taxes once in the sense of it, when I go and buy something and I'm good, I'm happy with that. I ain't got to worry about it no more. I ain't got to come up with receipts. I don't have to turn around and, go to my tax attorney and say, hey, can you help? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's these kinds of things. So I just see a bigger play, and it got to take the time to let it all play out. It might not be what we want in the forefront, but like I said, there's a process that we have to go through. And, change is hard, and that's what a lot of people are fighting is the change. Okay, and I'm not agreeing with the process that's involved. I'm not, because they're doing some. I mean, all right, I didn't want.
So what you're saying is this man's moves might benefit us?
That's what I can't see. I can't see that part.
I know, and that's okay. But see, that's just it, because we're still looking at what we have current. What is the current status quo, and how he's causing disruption? That's what we're looking at. It's human nature. You'd be like, well, I know it this way.
So what corporations running everything and billionaires running everything. Yeah, the corporations and billionaires running everything. It remains to be seen. I don't know.
Yeah, and please understand, I'm not advocating for it. I'm not saying, oh my God, embrace it. I'm just saying that this is change. We can protest all day.
Right.
We can protest all day. I mean, that's what they're doing. The guys on the coldest days, I think it was Friday, the coldest day. Do you realize there were over 10,000 people marching in downtown Minneapolis?
And it was 4 degrees.
And it was below 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be real with you. It was just too cold. It was just too cold, man.
I know that. Hey,
you're not the only one. It was cold.
You're in Minnesota too?
I was downtown.
Oh, you were down there?
I was down there, and it was just so packed. I couldn't believe it. And it's like, what, 15 below zero?
Yeah, it was just too cold. It was just too cold.
Well, with all the people that could have helped generate some heat, hopefully.
Yeah,
Sister, come on.
They said there's heat in numbers, right? Yeah, okay. It was. I'm not gonna lie. It was too cold. I gotta walk my dog 3 times a day. I get out 3 times a day, and we do a block. We do pretty much a block. He looked at me like, you really got me out here in this, and you expect me to go downtown? Nah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So let's keep going, because we're still on the border peace. I got some other stuff. So next thing I got, Trump to ask nations to pay $1 billion for permanent membership on the border peace. Now, here we go. He says, this is things you need to know. Donald Trump formed the border peace this month, and according to a report from Bloomberg, he will require nations looking for permanent membership to pay $1 billion. Okay? It says here, a U.S. official tells people that membership is free, but that non-paying members will have a 3-year term limit. So you can come in for free, but you can stay and play for 3 years. And after that, you're done. Trump will serve as chairman of the border peace, which he said is focused on helping to rebuild Gaza. But as you see, I showed you a video, it's going to be larger than that. Like I said, everything's a shell game that you got to follow that little ball under that cup. Everybody see where I'm going. This is interesting to see all this stuff play out. Now, here is a list of countries attending the Trump's border peace signing. Okay. I'm not going to read them all, but I want you to see. So you got Bahrain, Morocco, Argentina, all the way down. You got Mongolia, Saudi Arabia. Everybody see where I'm going? Here we go. Listen to this. He's getting announced. This is what he wanted. Believe me, this is what each and every person that's a narcissist would love to have. But listen to how loud his applause is. This is interesting.
Please welcome the chairman of the Board of Peace, the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
That's not very loud.
Yeah, that's a patty king.
But look at the audience. Everybody got their cell phone up. You see all that? Everybody's got their cell phone up. This is history.
Well, this is a very exciting day.
Okay, this is history in the making, guys. These are the events that take place, okay? So you remember, all right, keep this in mind. When World War II ended, and London was the reserve currency at the time, and they were demolished. Out came Bretton Woods. Okay, they met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and they devised to make America the reserve currency, and they came up with the agreements, and they signed the docs and what the parities would be between currencies and all that kind of stuff, and then they monetized gold, the value of gold, at $35 an ounce. Okay. Now we're looking at the creation of the Board of Peace. Your world just changed. Everybody understand what just took place. Your world just changed. He stepped out of the World Economic Forum. He walked away from the United Nations. He actually put sanction on the ICC, and then he created the Board of Peace. You can't make this stuff up. Your world is different as of today. Okay. Everybody see where I'm going? I told you I got some heavy stuff for you. This is interesting. You got to see all this stuff play out. It's scary, but at the same time, for me, it's kind of exciting because we caught it. Now, here we go. 10 plus countries signed on to Trump's new Board of Peace. While the UN gridlocks, nations are lining up behind Trump's Gaza reconstruction plan, with the board potentially expanding into a new global security body. Here are the countries that have publicly confirmed they're joining. Okay, I just showed you the other list, right? I'm not gonna read all this. And then we got down, and it says here, oh, look, it says France declined for now. It says plus 50 other plus countries invited ahead of the official signing at Davos. The model, $1 billion membership, 3-year term for standard members. Funds go to Gaza reconstruction. Long-term mission may expand far beyond Gaza. Everybody see where I'm going, okay? Love him or hate him, Trump is building an international coalition faster than the UN has in decades. Is this the beginning of a new world order? Everybody see where I'm going? You can't make this stuff up. Your world just changed. Your world just changed, guys. All right, so let's keep going. What's that?
I'm waiting for my wallet to.
All right, so check this out. This says the Board of Peace is now official.
Board of Peace is now officially official. And why that's interesting is because just a little bit ago, that didn't exist, and now it does. And so why that's interesting to me is because President Trump was asked about the United Nations. And so it seems, based upon his answer, he said that the United Nations essentially was not doing what they should be doing. And so in that conversation, it made the appearance that he was saying that the Board of Peace will be doing what the United Nations should have been doing. And so you have a bad guy, and now you have a good guy. The bad guy, United Nations, the good guy, the Board of Peace. At least that's how it's being painted in the media. Now, what's also interesting on top of that is that now President Trump is back in America, but there's something that is on his schedule, which is directly connected to the World Liberty Forum. And this forum is going to be convening with global leaders at Mar-a-Lago to shape the future of finance and technology. I am going to be talking about this word right here, the finance aspect of what they're going to be talking about. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, during the tribulation time, there is going to be a controlled system that is in place to where people are not going to be able to buy or sell. I have no idea what it's going to look like. And so what I'm going to be talking about here, it's just theoretical, but test it. See if it fits your narrative of how you see the future playing out. And so let's dive into the World Liberty Forum. This is something that many people haven't heard of before, myself included. So let's dive on into it. So what is it and when is it going to take place and who is going to be a part of this meeting? Well, it's going to be taking place on February 18th. And so that's less than a month away. And it's going to be taking place in Mar-a-Lago. So everybody is going to be going to Trump. Here it says the World Liberty Financial today announced the launch of the World Liberty Forum, which is an invitation-only convening of global leaders shaping the future of finance, technology, and policy. This system, this forum was created, the World Liberty Financial, it was created in 2024. And so now it's 2026. And so 2 years later, it's picking up momentum. The World Liberty Forum will bring together an unmatched concentration of decision makers at a moment when the global economic order is being reshaped. As the United States approaches its 250th anniversary, this forum is about defining what the next century of American innovation, leadership, and economic influence will look like, said Donald Trump Jr., who is the co-founder of this organization. The World Liberty Forum will convene senior leaders who will collectively oversee trillions of dollars in capital, global media platforms, major sports and entertainment institutions, and critical financial infrastructure. And then down here, you see the co-founder. So the Board of Peace.
Okay, so I do want you guys to hear that. This is interesting to see this stuff play out. They are going to be in the front, if not leading the entire crypto space. When I say they, I'm talking about Trump and his sons and you know, this is interesting to see all this stuff play out, guys. If you can corner the market, why not, right? That's what I said. If they can do it, you can at least be involved.
Not at this time. It's changing a little too fast, trying to keep up.
Well, the thing about it, everybody wants their wallet to move, but these are things that have to happen for your wallet to open up.
Right.
Okay, so just keep that in mind. So you want change, you want to see change in your purse, your pocketbook.
Yep.
Yeah, the world has to change around you. Okay, that's why I said be willing, if you need to pick up and move or whatever you need to do, because it's not going to be the same world that you see today. Okay. This is Holocaust Perspectives Worldly Financial News Report for the week of January 25th, 2026. I'm your host, Everett Day. Try to be your best in each and every situation. Leave the result as it is because it's the result. Find a way to raise your vibration so high the matrix glitches, lights flicker, and stagnant, dormant, and negative energies all transmute just because you stepped into the room. With that, you guys have a great night, and I'll see each and every one of you at the top.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Good night.